Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Carol Lieberman, and I'm filling in for John Tobacco on Liquid Lunch today. We are going to go to our first guest. I'm America's psychiatrist, as John likes to mention, and I'm going to be talking first to Joseph Hagan, and he is the CEO and founder of Wealth Colony. And he has a passion for making money with alternative investments. Well, that sounds very interesting, Joe. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for having me.
I think people, your skill is very much needed these days as the market is tanking with Joe Biden being president and all kinds of other things happening. So why don't you tell us about that, and then about some of what you suggest for some of the alternative investments?
Absolutely. So yeah, I think on a day like today, and I kind of like sneak my phone, on my dresser in bed and roll over and I look at it because I'm a cryptocurrency enthusiast and really an early investor in it. And I kind of had the feeling that, we were going to have a day like we had in the last couple of days, but really this morning. And there was a precipitous drop, hit about 30,000. And when I watched that, I would say that, your skill as a psychiatrist is probably more in demand, more needed than would be mine. And, one of the things I talk with, John on Liquid Lunch a lot about is, Bitcoin you can trade all day long because it's volatile, but you got to know what you're doing. If you have it as a long-term investment, or even if you do longer-term trades, days like today are absolutely buying opportunities, and I heard from a couple of friends on Wall Street that really haven't been able to participate for compliance reasons in the cryptocurrency Bitcoin arena. And they got a big fat green, flag, go sign today, which makes sense. These kind of sell-offs is where you want to see money, smart money be put to work. So stay the course. Right.
Well, what seems to be happening over the last, month or so, or maybe more? Why is the market was doing pretty well. Why is it getting so destabilized?
Well, there's a number of reasons for that. And, you mentioned this administration and, Resident or President Biden, however you want to refer to him. I think if you picked like everything that could go wrong, it almost feels intentional. The way things really feels like it's, the last administration was about make America great. And this administration feels like just undo everything and, screw things up and have the government take over because people can't figure things out for themselves and they need big brother, big government to do it.
Yes.
That's really the way.
I'm glad you said that because that has becoming, at first when I started thinking about that, I thought, oh, well, this must be a conspiracy theory. I should, not tell people about that. But as the days are rolling by, it is so much more apparent that is what is happening, the destruction of America. And so much, I didn't mean to interrupt, but continue with that.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't even want to get into conspiracy theories, but just like being just a financial guy, in traditional finance, doing some alternative investing, just kind of like watching it, it feels intentional. It feels like gas prices up. We had literally peace in the Middle East and now there's war. Every time you pick up something and read about it, without even any kind of a biased slant, if you kind of just read the facts about what's happening. Yeah. Lumber prices flying to the moon, and housing starts are probably going to, curtail because of that. So kind of everywhere you look, there's just empirical data and evidence that, the proverbial, what is hitting the fan. And where do we go from here? I don't know. We talk about inflation, right? Typically for the last 50 years, the dollar loses about 3% of its value every year. I just think that's going to be accelerated. And I think that's why at 40 to 50,000 on Bitcoin a few months ago, you saw the Jack Dorseys, the Mark Cubans saying a lot, even the Kevin O'Leary's and the Elon Musk's coming in. and buying Bitcoin because it felt like they needed to buy something to hedge against inflation. And the risk felt like it was not being in Bitcoin as opposed to being in Bitcoin. As far as the sell-off today, I just think it's almost like from having a trading background for years and just watching and seeing every dilemma, every tragedy, every rise and fall of the markets, it just felt like, Bitcoin's going to get ready to hit a new high somewhere here in 2021. And it felt like, it needed a nice little shakeout. You got a nice excuse with Elon Musk saying things that, by the way, I've been on this show with John, and I've been on LinkedIn, Joseph Hagan, and I've been saying it for many months that I cannot believe we haven't heard more about the carbon footprint of Bitcoin mining from a lot of the environmentalists. And I don't know, 30, 60 days after Elon Musk said that he's going to accept Bitcoin for Teslas is now kind of changing course. And so I think that was kind of like the hangover. Maybe that the excuse that the market needed to kind of sell Bitcoin off, just doubling down on Elon Musk's comments. But when I look at the economy and I look at the dollar and I look at inflation, I think there's more reason to buy Bitcoin besides it getting cheaper today.
Well, for people who aren't as financially sophisticated as you are, could you take a minute out to just, do Bitcoin 101?
Yeah, I mean, what's gold? It's a rock. It's all it really is. There's a finite amount. And besides jewelry, there are other utilities that mankind has put on it over the last 6,000 years. We've gone to $1 trillion, in 10 years on Bitcoin. But there's a finite amount, and that's the key. So the earliest Bitcoin enthusiasts that I've been listening to for almost 10 years have said that governments around the world, especially our government, are going to be the best free marketing arm for Bitcoin. So it's this really hard digital on the blockchain store of value that has a perceived value. There is utility if you wanted to buy a penthouse in New York and you own gold, how are you going to ship the gold, right? Like you could literally send the Bitcoin. So when you start talking about global commerce, you can move money around the world with like real-time settlement, cutting out a lot of middlemen and eliminating fraud because you have literally, so Bitcoin is the first, it's an experiment that could have failed, but with the help of our governments around the world and just the whole Bitcoin enthusiast and identifying that real store of value, that it succeeded, and it succeeded, wildly. And I think it'll continue because it's really more about the blockchain than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is one, it's got a lot of utility. It really can't be used as a currency just because it's too volatile, but it can be used as a long-term store of value. So while it doesn't have a monetary policy, while it really can't be used for a lot of transactional purposes because of the volatility, it still is 10 times more efficient than traditional gold. And as everything, so the blockchain, so I'll just say this to you, right? From the beginning of mankind, when mankind first got civilized out of the jungles, all the way through the first 3 levels of the internet, first 3 phases of the internet, content, networking, e-commerce, right? All of those the amount of wealth that's going to be created now with all assets going on the blockchain is going to dwarf all of that preceded it, because it's trust, Dr. Carol. It's about all the money. And what we've done is we've always trusted the banking system, the legacy, to say, I don't know you, Dr. Carol, but we trust the bank to be able to handle the transaction for us. And they don't always act in good faith, but the banking system, the bankers have the type of popularity ratings as some politicians, right? The credibility, the favorability is not high. They don't always act best interest. Just look at Wells Fargo and some other banks. And so there's the need to say, I want to be able to pay you, Dr. Carol. I want to pay you something and not get charged this huge fee. And so when you have blockchain, you have all of the assets are going to go on the blockchain, and it's just an open ledger that eliminates fraud and makes for really seamless, easy transactions and cuts out a ton of middlemen, no matter what industry you're looking at.
Okay, that's very interesting. And yes, as you were saying at the beginning, all of these changes are going to be adding to the rest of the chaos in the world and add to our mental stress. Well, thank you, Joe Hagan. Again, he is the CEO and founder of Wealth Colony, And obviously you can tell that he knows what he's talking about. So thank you.
You're welcome. You have a great day.